You're live.
Hey, 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 good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Victory Talk. I am your host, Lady J, and Key is with me. Hey, Key.
Hey, 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 everybody. Happy Friday.
Hey, we are excited to have you guys with us on Victory Talk tonight. Listen, it's been a super busy week and there is a lot going on, but we are excited for everything that God is doing for us. So we want you guys to just, do what we do. Get your phones. Come on, y'all know how we do. Get your phones, text somebody, tweet somebody, call somebody, tell them Victory Talk is on. Y'all come on and share it with us tonight. So we have an exciting conversation. We are going to get to talk to our pastor, and we usually don't have just our pastor on the show. He's been on the show as one of our guests for, he comes and he does the marriage segment, and then he has also been on the show with the fathers last year, I think it was last year. And so, but all that was great and wonderful. And we see him day to day, and we see the struggle. And so the conversation tonight is pastoring in the midst of a pandemic, because we are March was a year and now it's May already, and a lot of churches are still virtual. I know we are virtual, and and I know that it's tough, and it's not even just tough on the congregants. It's not just tough on the people, but it's really tough on the pastors. So, and to any of our pastors, other pastors that are out there and our viewers, we chime in, please chime in, and because we want to hear from you as well. So tonight we are excited, and we will be welcoming the pastor of Victorious Living Faith Ministry, Pastor Philip A. Miller Sr., Reverend Philip A. Miller Sr., our pastor. And so we are excited to just to welcome him and to have him into the conversation. So before I get started, I'm gonna turn it over to Pastor Phil and let him, just say hey, share anything he wants to share, and then we will go ahead and get the rolling. Pastor Phil.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Oh, it is good to be in the place. Finally, to be a guest on Victory Talk. I mean, I know I've been in something, but finally just to be a guest on Victory Talk. I am excited and of what the things that is going to be going on. I am just so happy and so joyful of what God has done during this pandemic season, when everybody was saying, oh no, oh no, oh no. God was doing some miraculous things. And so if you just sit back and just look at what God has done during this season, I know there was some bad stuff that went on in this season, and there's some people who are going to be trying to cope to get out of this season. But if you just really look back, God has done some stuff in this pandemic season. So I'm just excited to be here and with Lady J and Key. So we're gonna have a good time.
So, Pastor Phil, before we get too far deep in, because you just went off somewhere else, I ain't even expect you to do all that. We just wanted to know about Pastor Phil for the moment. So let's tell us, how long have you been pastoring?
Oh man, trying to say how long I've been pastoring. Well, let me see here. Victorious Living Faith was actually started as the Saturday gathering. And this was when we were still at St. Stephen's. And so the Saturday gathering was birthed in 2016. And it took maybe like a year hiatus. And then in 2018, Victorious Living Faith Ministries was planted. So you go from what? From 16 to 2021. Do the math.
So wow, that's okay. So you've been doing this a minute. So tell me, what's your overall experience or what's your overall thought about pastoring before we even get to the pandemic? What's your overall thought about pastoring? Because um, I can only imagine. Okay, from the outside looking in, I say, thank God it's not me. Thank God it's not me. So, share with us, what's your views on pastoring?
I'm gonna tell you, pastoring is probably the toughest job that you will ever love. There's some ups and downs, there's some hills, there's some valleys. I always tell people, even people who are not members of my church, pray for your pastor because you do not know what he or she goes through. Pray for your pastor. It is a hard job, but when God puts that mantle on you, and sometimes you look at the pastor and you say, "Man, I wouldn't mind being a pastor," because you see the pastor. He's in the pulpit. You're seeing the pastor in his glory. But really and truly, there's a lot more to pastoring than preaching Sunday. Matter of fact, if pastoring was just coming to church preaching Sunday, it'd be a easy thing. But it's that stuff behind the scenes. It's that stuff when you're getting those 2 o'clock phone calls. It's that stuff when you have to counsel people. I think the probably one of the toughest things I ever had to go through. When you have to counsel a mother who's lost a child, and so it has its times when you say, you have to be like Moses. Why have you put this on me, Lord? But it's a great job, and I love it. I love it.
Oh, wow. Bless you, man of God. Bless you, man of God. Did you have anything that you wanted to ask Keith before I jumped into our topic for tonight?
Nope, you can go ahead and jump right in.
Okay, well, listen. So, since March, the entire world has been in a state of flux as the coronavirus pandemic has ravaged physical bodies, our economics, and our mental and spiritual health. On top of that, our nation is coping with natural disasters and cultural, political moment of fraught with division and polarization. A little over a year into the crisis, we wanted to know how pastors are holding up and what God is doing in this moment. So, my question to you is, tell us what your first thoughts were when the pandemic hit regarding your church.
When the pandemic hit, and let's say we were on the verge of celebrating our second year, and then the pandemic hit, and first it was this thing of saying, God, come on, what's going on? But then you have to kick back and realize who God is, and that there's nothing bigger than God, and everything works for the good of those who love the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we sit back, and we had to go into this whole different mode, because even though our church buildings were closed, the church never closed, because we are the church. And I believe God really proved that during this pandemic season. And so now we had to, revamp our thinking, because the word still had to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And so you also had to revamp your thinking about pastoring, because you still have that title, you still have that job, and just because your doors are closed, it still does not mean that you're not shepherding sheep. So now you had to reevaluate, how am I going to shepherd my congregation in this situation that we're in? So you had to because I do believe that God had already given us the tools for this season before this season ever hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you had to reevaluate, and you had to use those tools to now still shepherd your people, because they still need you. It's not because the church doors are closed and you can't come preach in your pulpit Sunday that your people do not need you. They still need their pastor. And so we just had to reevaluate and we had to rethink, how am I going to be there for my flock? And so, the phone became my best friend, because now that's how you had to reach out. There was some time when you had people who were in the hospital and you could not physically go there. And sometimes you could not call them, being on, whatever their medical condition was. So you had to reach out to the family. Come on, how's everybody doing? Sometimes you had to pick up the phone just to say, hey, how you doing? And so, you just had to rethink, how am I going to pass in this season that we're in? Because the church doors was closed, that doesn't mean you were on vacation.
Wow. That's a lot. That is a lot. So do you find that you have more interaction now with your congregation than you did when you were physically seeing them on a regular basis?
Well, you had interaction, and then you know what? I'll be the first one to tell you. I'm the first one championing to get back into the building, because I guess when I first came into ministry, if you said all you had to do was preach in front of a camera, I'd have been good.
Mm-hmm.
But now you find that after you've been preaching, and that you need the congregation there. And so the interaction, I've had interaction, but I still miss that personal touch. I still miss those smiles, and I miss the holy hugs, even though we're gonna have to hold off on the holy hugs even when we go back. We still got to be a little, not standoffish, but you got to give a holy high five, high five. But
holy elbow.
Yeah, you can get a holy elbow. But interaction has been good, but there's sometimes when people are going through things that the phone call is good, but you just want to be there with them.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And that leads us to our next question for you. So many pastors have noted that Zoom and other online platforms are reaching a larger audience than they had ever reached prior to the pandemic. So what are your thoughts on that? And do you find that to be the case for VLF? Because I know that we were blessed enough to be able to be virtual even when we were in person in the sanctuary. So we were kind of accustomed to, having that online presence. But do you think that, you've been able to reach more people now being completely virtual than before?
One thing I say, I wish I would have invested in Zoom when it first came out, because I'd have been made a fortune by now, because Zoom has been one of those mediums that we've been able to reach out to people. And so it's good because you can see them, they can see you, and you can talk to each other. I've had a chance to do marriage counseling over Zoom. The first time doing it, it kind of, it's this, never done this before, and how is this going to work out? But it was all good. I had a chance to go to weddings over Zoom. So I guess what you have when you're saying it with Zoom and interaction with your congregations, you have more of the one-on-one. You don't have the distractions per se, because it's just you and that congregate. So you don't have the distractions you would have normally. So it's good, but it still does not take the place of just being there.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. So let me ask you this. Well, let me say this first. While the goals and definitions of pastoral ministry haven't changed, the context surrounding shepherding has shifted dramatically, morphing into ways that are impossible to see while we're still in the midst of it. As the pandemic took hold, church leaders were faced with an unfamiliar task, pastoring people from a distance. The work, which seemingly demands personal presence, presence, now must occur in cyberspace. Dinner invitations and hospital visits are replaced with an endless stream of videos, emails, texts, and phone calls. Work that once was shoulder to shoulder is now device to device, and pastors are expected to adapt quickly and continue indefinitely. So my question to you is, how have you been able to address the needs of not your congregation, not only your congregation, but others who have called on you for visits, counseling, and any other type or any other needs?
Well, one thing, I mean, and I've always been hands on. So I've always been, when my phone rings, I answer it. And so you get to the point now that when your phone rings, now it's even more important that when your phone rings, you answer it. So I've been answering call. I've answered calls from telemarketers, those calls who I would never answer. I've been answering those calls because when my phone rings, I answer, because I never know who's on the other end, which is really taught me that, even when we go back into the sanctuary, answer your phone, answer your phone. You know, Reverend Jackie, Lady J, she'll tell you, my phone is by my bed when I sleep. If somebody calls me in the middle of the night, I answer the phone, because you never know what that phone call is. And one thing about pastoring is a 24/7 job. You don't have time off. You try to take vacation, and I learned from my mentor, Dr. William A. Gray the third, even when you're on vacation, you're on duty. And so what I've just learned is, by any means I have, that's what I use to, be in contact with my congregants. So my phone is always on. I check email constantly. Just whatever means, because God has already given this stuff. So there's really no excuse why your congregation cannot reach you. There really is no excuse, because we have all of this technology. I mean, I've had Congress reach me by Facebook Messenger. I mean, so there is no excuse while you're not in contact with your people. But I've learned that even when we go back, I still have all of these tools that I can be in contact with my congregation.
So let me ask you this. So do you find that you have more interaction with your congregation, and how does it affect your personal life? Because now you're doing ministry from, not that you weren't doing ministry from home before, but it's like the house has become your church, your physical church. Whereas before you were in the building, and you would go to the building, every Sunday, multiple times during the week, and but now you're central, your hub. is your home. So therefore everything takes place, there. So how is it affecting how is, the pandemic affecting your personal life, whereas it comes to your pastoring, being, revamped?
Everything is balance. I mean, um, there's all this other stuff going on, and you have to spend time with your spouse. Y'all see Lady J up there; she's so beautiful, and so you learn that your spouse is your first ministry, and so it's all about balance. But I pray over it, and I pray that God brings that balance, and that He tempers me so that I don't overdo the balance. See, I've learned that everything with God is balanced. We just overdo it. We stretch ourselves. So I've learned to sit back and just let God be God. And when you let God be God, things just work out. Things just move.
Wow.
Okay. We just want to take a quick second to say hey to everybody who has jumped on in there. Hey Claudia, hey Angel, hey to Miss Victoria and Sister Harriet. We are so glad to have you all with us this evening. And hey to everybody else out there that hasn't said hello that's watching. So if you're just tuning in, we are talking about pastoring through a pandemic. Okay, just to catch y'all up. So we are talking to our very own pastor of Victorious Living Faith Ministries in this candid conversation. So our next our next question for you, Pastor, is being that the pandemic has brought new causes for despair all in its own, more parishioners facing physical illness, more of them grieving lost loved ones, more of them teetering on economic destruction, and more of them burdened with anxiety and depression. Balancing the need to be a leader with the need for resiliency and taking care of your own needs so that you don't get depleted is not easy. So with so many people going through so many of these things, what methods have you used to avoid pastoral burnout, which we know is really a true thing?
You know what I've learned, as I have um, watched Victory Talk, I've listened a whole lot, and I remember on one of the issues, Shay was talking about meditation, and so I as I thought about that, and I researched meditation, there's actually a app. It's called mindfulness, and it was the app was created by the it was created for the Veterans Department, and it was for soldiers who were suffering PTSD. And so I downloaded the app, and so I started meditating. And so that was that time to, be within myself and to be conscious of everything that was going on. And that helped. And now that the weather's broke and it's sunny, I can get out in the yard, and the yard, that's my me time. I can kind of lose myself out there. I'm cutting grass and trimming bushes and doing things. And so that's my downtime. That's my unwind time. So I found that, those times help so that you don't get burned out, because you have to have some self-care time. You have to have that time to just kick back and let God deal with you. You're ministering to people, but sometimes you need to be ministered to. And so I just try to, if whatever kind of downtime I can get, and when I get that downtime, I just roll with it and enjoy myself. All right.
That's
Okay.
definitely a good thing. You need that. It's hard for us sometimes to practice self-care, when we have so many people that we're responsible for taking care of, even people, outside of our immediate family. So it's good, and we're glad to hear that, you have figured out a way to just maneuver through it all. And before I throw it back to Lady J, we have a question from Miss Victoria. She wants to know, is it more difficult to pastor to your wife or family as opposed to non-family members or members that don't belong to your church?
Fair.
Is it more is it more difficult to pastor to your wife or family? Um I would say, sometimes it is more difficult because sometimes you have to get them not to look at you as the husband, father, but the as the pastor. So sometimes Lady J has got this habit now when she wants to talk to Pastor Phil. That's who she calls. Pastor Phil. So when she calls Pastor Phil, I know she needs to talk with Pastor Phil. When she says Philip or she says Lovey, okay, she wants her husband. And so I have to learn that I have to switch those hats. I have to be Pastor Phil when she needs Pastor Phil, and I have to be Lovey when she needs Lovey.
Love it. I love it. Great answer. You like that curveball you got thrown on.
I feel the need to jump in there on that though, because Miss Victoria, shame on you.
Now you see where I get it from.
But I have to say, and it's just so funny that that was a question that came up because I'm probably the hardest person in the pastor. Hi, my name is Jackie. I need help. Because sometimes, he'll ask me to, he'll tell me to do such and such, or he'll, tell me to, do this, that, and the third. And I'll be like, no, mm-mm, not doing it. Nope. No, not having it, not me. And a lot of time I'm just giving them a hard way to go. But I'm thankful that I do not have a problem respecting him and respecting his leadership because he has not steered me wrong. And I thank God because I know that he wholly trusts, he wholly leans, he wholly depends on God. He's the same man when you guys see him. He is the same man when you don't see him. He's still, his faith he is wholeheartedly rooted and grounded in his commitment and his relationship, and in his service to God. And so I have no problem, following him, whether I'm following him or, being led as his wife or, a minister on his staff or, a congregant. No matter what it is, I have no problem in, saying yes, yes, sir. Because I say yes, her, because I respect him and I respect his leadership.
That's the Pastor Phil that she says yes,
That's the
sir.
Pastor Phil. Yeah. I'm gonna tell y'all what I say to Lovey. So my next thought is this. First, considering the value of new formats and reproducible tools, the weekly sermon format must adjust to meet our current moment. By necessity, most churches opted to put their services online, a daunting task for many. And I've seen it be a daunting task for many because I see that there are a lot of churches that reach out to you for assistance with getting them set up so that they can have online service. But without the feedback loop of in service responses and the post service conversation, preaching virtually leaves many wondering how to discern whether the message or the medium is effective. Such a void can leave pastors dismayed. So my question is, how have you had concerns or struggles with the content of the virtual service? Does the length of the service, and if people are able to receive the same worship experience as if they were in person, are you struggling? Are you missing the feedback from, the response of the congregation, the clapping their hands, or seeing somebody, rock back and forth, or just, you know, burst out in tears, all of those kind of interactions from the congregation when you're in front of them, they help push the pastor. I remember hearing Reverend Candace say, "Y'all push the pastor, y'all, amen, and clap and encourage him, because it helps him as he is ministering." So, are you having concerns? How are you dealing with the struggle of that?
Well, you know what? That's why I said preaching to a camera. You can't see the people. You don't have that interaction with the people. And yeah, it's kind of awkward preaching sometimes. But like I tell everybody, after the Sunday services and after Bible study, I go back and I go through every social media outlet and I read every comment. I just found that when you start reading the comments, you start getting out of what your congregation is getting from the service. So I go through, we are broadcasting on Twitter. We are on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube. On Facebook, we have probably about 3 or 4 pages that we're coming off of. So I go to every last one of them and I read every comment. Matter of fact, I've gotten sermons from comments. And so that kind of helps to see what, and I do have some congregants who will text me and say, "Pastor, you preached the word," and we're often heard that your pastor preached the word, but when somebody can give you back what you gave them, then you know that they were listening and you know that they were reached. And so that's kind of how I can get, is the message relevant, and is it meeting the people's needs?
Wow. And that actually leads us to our next viewer comment, which was, this is before I get to my next question, but has the pandemic caused you to, or has God led you to sermons that you never preached before or hadn't given much thought to? Have your topics drastically changed during this time?
I can't say that they've drastically changed, but there have been directions that, and I really can't say that I direct my sermons. I really pray over it and let God direct me to what the people need. I kind of feel that if I'm trying to preach something to make the people say amen, to make them shout, then I'm trying to get the glorification. So I really pray over it and let God leads me where he needs me to be. And he gets all of the glory. He gets all the glory. And so during this pandemic season, I've came up with some subjects and I've put it into God's hands and said, "Hey, is this what you want me to preach over?" And I know sometimes, people are looking for me to be preaching something about COVID and how God is going to bring us out. And God has given me messages not about how we're going to get out of COVID, but what we're supposed to get out of COVID. And so, sometimes God has given me messages. I be like, it's kind of rough. Am I supposed to be preaching this? And he's like, yes. And so we I just pray over it, let God leads where he leads, and preach the word.
Okay, so what about not being a traditional church, in reference to your sermon topics? Like how is that? Because I'm sure that many of us who, came up under a certain denomination, we kind of, know the ways and the rules and everything that kind of come along with that. So how can you tell us a little bit about how being a non-traditional church differs from, some other churches that may be out there, different denominations?
Well, look, let me see here. I am what? How old am I, lady J? 52?
Yeah.
I was born in the AME Z church. Okay. And then when I came to move to Maryland, I came to the AME church. So I've been in African American Methodism all my life. And I have nothing against tradition. But I do know that we're at a point in time where there are some people who are not going to be reached the traditional way. And so when God, when God gave me Victorious Living Faith Ministries, I really had the name of the church 3 years before the church was even birthed. And then the not your traditional church was added to it. And I was trying to figure out how is that, because I grew up traditional all that time. But when I look back over my life and I'm saying, God, why are you putting this on me? Then I realized I was not too traditional myself. So I don't have anything against tradition, but they're just some people, and say I'm like, I kind of see it like Paul. Paul was to preach to the Gentiles, not the Jews. He was to go get those people and lead to Christ other than the traditional Jews. And so there are people who are not going to be reached in the traditional way. And so being not your traditional church, it kind of gives a little bit of leeway that I'm going to reach out. There's nothing going to hold me from reaching out to you. There's no hills to go over. There's no hoops to jump through. I'm just here for you.
All right. Good answer. So our next question that we have for you is about how COVID-19 seems to have conspired against Christianity. Many churches aren't gathering. Some have closed their doors due to financial concerns. Everyone does not have the equipment, expertise, or resources to be able to pull off a virtual church. So there are many positive things, though, that have come out of this situation, like increased membership, because, we all know that some people would prefer not to get up out of the bed on Sunday morning, and quote unquote, sacrifice their time, to go into the building. But if they're able just to roll over and in many cases not even have to get out of bed, then this is just it for them. This is exactly what they're looking for. So we know that, there's been more time for devotion and studying. There's been a lot of positivity that has come out of this season. Can you tell us about some positive things that you have seen come out of this pandemic regarding your church or any other church for that matter?
Well, what I've seen in this pandemic season, when the church, the buildings were closed, not the church. Church has never been closed. Amen. But the buildings was closed. What happened is God closed those buildings, but he opened a church in every household. And so now you have people in service by what other means they wouldn't go to the church building. They still love the Lord, but they would not go, be it that they're dealing with church hurt or they just can't get out. But this season has made churches revamp how they was going to do, because they come to the point that they had to get their message out. So you had people that had not been able to go to church, be it that a work schedule or be it that they were bedridden, that now their church is now broadcasting. And so now they can be in service. Now they can hear the pastor's message. And so what God showed us is that we were getting too confined behind our walls. We were getting too comfortable. We were really and truly, we were preaching to the choir. We're preaching to everybody who come to church Sunday, and the people who really needed to hear it are the ones that were out there. And the outreach of trying to bring souls to Christ. VLF, we've done a whole lot of outreach things. God gave me the vision one day during service. And I know Lady J and Kiara, they were here and we were broadcasting service. And I get up in front of the camera and I say, I need 100 blankets. And they looked at me like I had two heads. But see, this is what God told me to do. But as much as that, you can give stuff away. You can give stuff away. But are you drawing people to Christ? So you have to look at what's more important. How much stuff that we gave away, or how many people that we led to Christ. And so a whole lot of times you flaunt that we did this, we did that, but how many souls have you led to Christ? I have now come to believe that every church service you have, if you're not offering Christ to somebody, you're just having a show.
Wow. Yes, he did do that to us, y'all. Yes, he did do that to us.
Yes, we did look at him like that.
Like he had 210 heads, and he was like, but I got to tell you, without a doubt, we watched God do something amazing. Like, listen, when he said he will give you he will do exceedingly and abundantly above what you ask. I believe we had 158 blankets. We not only had blankets, but we had toiletries that went out. We had food that went out. It was amazing. We had hats. We had gloves. There were scarves. It was unbelievable. And that's in the middle of the winter, in the midst of a pandemic. So God was doing something in that season. And we are excited because I'll share with you at the end of the show again. But we are tomorrow on Saturday. We are going down to the Love the Hopeful Market on the Falls Way, and we have been collecting new and gently used shoes. We've been collecting socks. We have groceries. We have toiletries. We have some hats. We have a couple T-shirts. Once again, it all started off with somebody donating some shoes. And so it is just amazing. And then we have a team that's going down with us. So we are watching God do some, amazing things for Victorious Living Faith and through Victorious Living Faith in this season. So let's talk about something, and this is another curveball. Let's talk about, first off, let me say this before I jump on, because y'all know Lady Jake 10 Shades of Crazy. I am what I am. I'm kind of I miss the interactions of the people. I do. I miss the singing. I miss the choir. I miss the hugs. I miss us hanging out, this, that, and the third. But listen, y'all, church from at home, like we do service from our sanctuary is in our basement now, and then after service, we hang out with, those that are on the Zoom for like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, but we still finish church before 12 o'clock in the day. And so I'm home. So I might be one of those people who be like, we going back to the sanctuary, we going back to the building. So that might be one of me. That I might be one of them people, y'all. And I know y'all out there and y'all all thinking it, but y'all not saying it. So I'ma say it for you. I'm kind of liking virtual church. I told y'all I'm probably the worst one that he has to fast. The Lord do something with me. But anyway, so what I want to the curveball I want to throw out there is that, okay, so can you share with us about the finances, the how is tithing going? How is donations going? Our offering, because a lot of times, if people are not in the physical place, they don't they don't feel as though they have to support. They don't feel as though that they have to do. All of these church buildings, even though they're doing virtual service, the lights still, BG&E still got to be paid. You still got to pay your rent or a mortgage. You still have to pay, for water. You still, keeping the physical building in tech still has to go on. I know for Pastor Phil, he doesn't, get he doesn't get a payment. He doesn't get a stipend or anything like that. So all of the funds still go to the maintaining the church space, the church building. So can you share with us how tithes and offering has been affected in this pandemic season?
Something tithes and offering is something I never really talk about. I am not that pastor who really harps on tithes and offerings. I tell the people, your tithe is between you and God. I'm not going to sit up here and I'm not going to try to guilt you of how much money you're going to give, but because that's between you and God, that's between your relationship with God, that's your faith walk. But I can say this, VLF really, tithes and offerings really didn't change. The first thing I noticed after probably like the first 2 or 3 months, tithes and offerings didn't change. And matter of fact, as the pandemic got in, as we went into the pandemic seasons, really and truly, tithes and offerings grew. When you have that faith walk, when you're walking in faith, and somebody might say, you crazy going to give that church your money. But see, that's between you and God. I don't get a salary. I don't get a salary. God has blessed me with a good job. And so I don't need to get a salary from the church. And so that's not my thing, but it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. God has been blessing. God has been blessing his people, and his people have been doing what they are supposed to do. I'm not saying what you're supposed to give. They have been doing what they have supposed to do. And I've seen people during this season that I have actually challenged people. I challenged one young man. I said, look, because he was talking about faith and faith walk, and we got on to tithes. I said, look, check this out. Try this. I want you to tithe for 60 days. Tithe for 60 days. And if at the end of that 60 days, if something doesn't happen, I'll make sure that you get all of your tithe money back. And we got to that last Sunday. And he called me after church service, and he said, I was going to call you up. because I was going to ask you for that money back. But he said, on Friday, I was going to pay my tithes, but my BG&E was going to get turned off. And he said, so I paid my tithes. I got my check. I paid my tithes. He said, then I called BG&E and I tried to work out some kind of payment arrangement. He said, when I called them, they said I had a credit. He said, so I believe. And so, during this pandemic season, we really didn't see any change. Matter of fact, we saw increase. So God be the glory.
That's amazing. That's amazing because, we know that some people, some churches out there, have had to close their doors and they have had to struggle through this season. So, it is a tremendous blessing that not only are we able to be, sustained, but just be in a better position than before. It's just nothing but God. So if anybody asks, we can only say it's nothing but God. To God be the glory. Sister Sharkel Johnson says, to God be the glory. And Brother Thomas Corbett said, the core of Christ is giving. He gave his life. So keep walking in it, y'all. It's good to have y'all with us this evening. Thanks so much for tuning in. We have one last viewer comment I think we can get in here as we're approaching the top of the hour. We have a viewer that wants to know, what would you say that God wanted VLF members as a whole to learn or to get out of this pandemic?
Man, what would I want VLF members to learn?
What would God want?
What would God want VLF members to learn? That they are the church. They are the church. God said when he said to Peter, upon my rock I shall build this church, and the gates of hell shall not stand against it. And so that we are the church, and that God's word will go forth regardless of what happens. We may have to, revamp our ways, change our ways, do some things, not going back to what we was talking about, tithes and offerings. But, VLF has grown in the pandemic so much that we are in search for a new building, because during the pandemic, we've outgrown our current building. So just look at that and look at what God has done. We've outgrown a building when we're not in the building.
Amen.
Come on, look at that. Look at God. And so if anybody does know a church that's closed out there and they've closed their doors and they have an empty building, please call me. I'm looking for a building because we've outgrown our building. And so, we've learned even through this time where I've seen VLF members in adversity. And, God puts you in places where you can be in somebody else's shoes. A lot of people know that there was a time during this pandemic season where I was not preaching. I think there was 2 months I didn't preach. So we have to look at this. We're in the midst of a pandemic. We're going through this. We're trying to figure this out. I have an accident, and not really people really knew what went on in that accident. But in that accident, my right eye was literally destroyed. And so, but during the whole time, I knew God had a plan. God had a plan. God had a plan. God had a plan for that accident. God had a plan for this pandemic season. And so, as we see now, my sight is not fully here, but what they told me I was going to get back, I'm getting back way more. What the vision they said I was going to get 10% back, and I sat in the chair. And I said, wait a minute, 10%, 10%, 10% is the tithe. We give God 10%. And so that we have faith that the 90%, not only are we going to survive on that 90%, but we are going to flourish on that 90%. So if you're telling me I'm only going to get 10% of my sight back, to me that really equates to I'm going to get 90% of my sight back. And the doctor looked at me like I had two heads of how I was figuring this out. But now they are telling me I'm going to get 90% back. So to God be the glory for all the great things he has done.
Yeah.
And so, we just look forward to what God is going to do. So during this pandemic season, I believe that God wants the members of VLF to know that what he brings you to, he can bring you through. And that what you saw it was going to be your downfall is going to be your uplifting. Sometimes you have to be broken to be built up. And I am so glad that the members of VLF, because we were the small church, we were the underdog church, and but the members of VLF stuck together. I mean, I tell you, when I say the VLF gang, it's the VLF gang because they stood together and they hung together, and we are going to come out of this better than we went into it. So God be the glory.
Yes, yes, yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. See, y'all don't know, when you invite a pastor on the show, you're gonna get a little sprinkle, okay?
Right.
It's gonna get in there some kind of way. You're gonna get a word, you're gonna get a morsel, you're gonna get a sprinkle, you're gonna get a little bit, and it's good.
It's good. I'm over here thinking right now, Keith. I heard a whole lot of sermon meat right there. I heard a whole lot of sermon meat right there.
That meat was good. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So in order for us to, we're about to close, but we have one last question for you. So the path ahead, life after the pandemic, which we all know will never be the same. But what changes do you see on the horizon for the church services once the world opens back up? Which is going to be tomorrow, but I'll get to that in a second after you answer your question. Yeah, I'm about to drop a bomb on y'all, but go ahead and answer.
What do I see for the church service after everything opens back up? I see more for the church service. I can really see that what God did, there was some things that people took for granted before this pandemic season, and going to church was one of them. You may get up, I think I go today. You know what? I want to get some more sleep. I don't think I'm going today. And now people are begging to get back into the church building. People are driving. I've heard of people driving 60 miles to a church that's open when beforehand they would not even drive 15 miles. People are begging to get back in church. And so what I see now for church service is that pastors now know that that the word needs to go out, and you can't let anything stop that word from going out. People know now not to take it for granted, Sunday morning. And I know, just like Lady J just said, virtual church is good, but there's just something about that fellowship when you can just see them smile. One of the best things I loved about VLF was seeing the kids running around. And so I've learned during this pandemic season, and really and truly, service is not going to change. Matter of fact, some stuff is going to be added. I am thankful to God. We was already on that virtual road before we got here, so we really didn't have to transition much because we was already there. But the outreach is going to be more because now we are being able to be with the people. So we're gonna have more stuff going on when everything opens back up. And yeah, I heard that tomorrow the bomb drops.
Yep. So on that note, as we close out, in case anyone did miss the press conference that the governor gave today at 5 p.m., he's saying that following CDC guidance and in consultation with the health department and medical experts, that effective tomorrow, Maryland will be lifting the statewide mask mandate in addition to all other capacity and distancing restrictions. So with that being said, we just want to remind you guys, as we say on Sunday morning, as we always say, you do what's best for you and your family. You keep wearing that mask. If you want to keep wearing that mask, I don't think anybody's going to look at you crazy because we all been wearing them for over a year now. You keep distancing, you keep sanitizing, you keep yourself safe. Okay, so no matter what anybody else says, you make sure that safety first for yourself, for your family, for everybody's sake. Okay. So on that note, we thank everybody for tuning in this evening for our special edition, I'm going to call it, a Victory Talk. We were blessed enough to have our very own pastor with us to talk about pastoring through the pandemic. We have been right there in the trenches with him. We so love and appreciate you so much for everything that you do. You are a blessing to not only VLF, but to everyone that you encounter. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Lady J, you want to say good night? Go ahead.
Go ahead. You got it. Go.
So tomorrow, as a reminder, in case anybody is tuning in late, we will be at Fallsway under the bridge tomorrow. It starts at 9 a.m. And we will be there with the Love the Hopeful organization. It is their farmers market, which is held the third Saturday of every month. So VLF will be in the house. Victory Talk will be in the house. We will be broadcasting live. If anyone would like to stop by and still drop off donations, we have collected socks, shoes, toiletries, vegetables, food. We've collected all types of things that we're going to have a table set up alongside of Love the Hopeful organization. So we just invite you, stop by, tell a friend, bring somebody with you, stop by and say hi to us. This will be your opportunity just to serve a little bit and just to meet us in person. We would love to see you. So again, that will be tomorrow, Saturday at 9 a.m. And what's the address again?
The address is 421 Fallsway, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202.
Okay.
421 Fallsway, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202.
Yes, thank you so much for that. So we will be excited to see you on tomorrow. We thank everybody for tuning in. I am Keys.
Wait, hold. I know we got a giveaway tonight. I know we got a giveaway.
Oh, we forgot about the giveaway.
We forgot our giveaway.
All right, y'all. So it's giveaway time. We got a question for you guys. Well, I'm not gonna tell you what the giveaway is just yet, but we have a question for our viewers. If anybody would like to answer, you can type your response into whatever social media platform that you are tuning in from. This one is maybe a little bit easy. I'm not sure. It's kind of a little bit of a trick question. So the question is, can you name the number one food product that people shopped for during the pandemic? You might not be able to get it. It might not be too easy because it might not be what you think. But what do you think the number one food product is that people shopped for during the pandemic? You can type that in the comments and we will see what we get.
The number one food product, edible.
Yes. Number one food product that people shopped for during the pandemic. Y'all probably have to help me look out a little bit because I don't
know. If you'd have said Thomas said lemons. If you'd have said groceries, what was the number one grocery product? I would, you know what that would have been, right? Regina said milk.
Nope, and Miss Victoria said milk too. It wasn't that. You're warm. You're warm. You're in the family a little bit.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Think.
There you go, Miss Victoria.
What'd she say?
It was eggs.
Eggs. Wow. Eggs.
It was eggs. I told you it might have been a trick question for some because you really wouldn't think, right off the bat that it would be eggs.
I was gonna say, well, if it had been just groceries, I would have said it was toilet paper. Yeah, because it was toilet paper wars out there. Toilet paper wars was going on. Yes, Regina, I was gonna say bread. Yeah, that was one of my thoughts, but it was eggs. So congratulations, Miss Victoria. What has she won?
She has won, I don't have it to show for the camera, but she has won a necklace and earring set.
Woo! Congratulations! Congratulations!
And as a reminder, y'all, this is our anniversary month, so we're doing giveaways. We're going to have some surprise guests. Each show is going to bring you something amazing and different. So we look forward to seeing you guys on tomorrow at the Love the Hopeful Farmers Market. And if not, we look forward to seeing you right back here next Friday night at 7 p.m. I am signing off. I am Key.
I'm Lady J.
And this is Victory Talk. God bless and good night, everybody.
Good night.